Hello everyone. Let's look at shloka number 88 and 89 in Lalita Sahasranamam. Bhaktahārda tamobheda bhānumad-bhānusantatiḥ śivadūtī śivārādhyā śivamūrtir śsivaṅkarī śivapriyā śivaparā śiśhṭeśhṭā śiśhṭapūjitā aprameyā svaprakāśā manovāchāma gocharā. Let's look at the meanings. Bhaktahārda tamobheda bhānumad-bhānusantatiḥ. Bhakta means devotees. Hārda means in their heart. Tamo means ignorance. Tamo gunam means lethargy, sleep, all negative things. So that means darkness, and tamo here means ignorance. Bheda means to destroy. Bhānumad means like the sun. Bhānu is sun, so like the sun. Bhānusantatiḥ. Bhānu is again sun. Santati means a continuous line. So what this line means is she dispels the darkness in the hearts of her devotees just like the sun. And it's not that she is one time dispelling those darkness. Bhānusantatiḥ. So just like the sun is sending multitude of rays continuously, she continuously illumines our hearts. So she is the one who dispels the ignorance. If you look at the previous line, we said mahavāchāma nayana kumudaklāda kaumudi. Kaumudi is the moonlight. So we said she is like the moonlight. Moon always refers to the mind. So she creates clarity and focus for us so we can go to a desireless state. So Kamesha is the master of desires. So Shiva has won over all his desires. Like that, she creates this focus for us so we can get to a desireless state. When we get to a desireless state, what happens? The veil of Maya can be lifted. So until we are bound by desires, we are still within the Maya. The moment we win over our desires, we are not looking for any outcome, then we can go towards enlightenment. So that's what this line means. Baktahārda tamobheda bhānumad-bhānusantatiḥ. She creates the focus for us to be able to get to a desireless state. And once we have gotten to a desireless state, she is able to create this enlightenment. She illumines our hearts, and then she is making us reach towards the lifting of the veil of Maya, which is the enlightenment. And after that is the supreme bliss. Śivadūtī. Śivadūtī means one who sent Shiva as her messenger. And Śivadūtī is also one of the 16 Nitya deities. So in Shumba Nishumba Vada, Kaushiki sent Shiva as the messenger to Shumba and Nishumba. So a quick recap about that story. Shumba and Nishumba had this boon from Brahma that they cannot be killed by any male. It could be a deva or a gandharva, yaksha or a human being. No male can kill Shumba or Nishumba. No animals can kill, no plants can kill, plants, trees, etc. So with that, Shumba and Nishumba pretty much made sure that they cannot be killed. So they wanted immortality first. Obviously Brahma didn't grant that, so they asked for this. So they got very arrogant with power because now they are pretty much assured of not being killed, and therefore they behaved very arrogantly, and they went and conquered the 3 worlds, and they took over the Swargaloka. So the devas were not able to fight against Shumba and Nishumba. Usually the devas get help from Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva, but because now no male can win against Shumba and Nishumba, pretty much they all were not able to help. And there was all this battle that was happening, and unfortunately all the devas had to flee from the battlefield. And that made Shumba and Nishumba disrespect the devas even more because they ran away from the battlefield like cowards. And because of that, they specifically took so much pleasure in torturing them. So wherever the devas were there, they went and hunted for them, and then they tortured them. To the extent that some of the devas had to turn into stick, and they were lying by the pond or somewhere so that nobody will know that that's a deva and torture them. So it had become that unbearable for the devas. And then they were thinking who would help them. At that time they remembered that Devi had said that anytime they need help, she will help. And therefore they started singing praises of Devi. And then Parvati came and she asked what happened, and they told the whole thing, and so she said she will help. And therefore she took the form of Kaushiki. And Kaushiki is one of the most beautiful women you have ever seen. And so she went and she stayed in a garden. And there were two people who were in the army of Shumba and Nishimba. Their names are Chanda and Munda. Chanda and Munda happened to pass by that garden, and they saw Kaushiki. And they were stunned by the beauty, and they thought they've never seen a more beautiful woman. And as soon as they saw, they ran to Shumba and Nishimba, and they had to report, I saw this beautiful woman. And Shumba and Nishimba have all the best things, because once they won over Swargaloka, they looted everything from Swargaloka. And we all know in Swarga all the beautiful things are there. They took over Indra's garden, which is supposed to be the most beautiful garden. All the great flowers are there. There's no garden more beautiful than Indra's. They took Varuna's umbrella, they took Yama's spear, they took all the best things from the Swargaloka. And Asuras have this greed. Anything that is best, they have to have. And Shumba and Nishimba were no different from that. So as soon as they heard from Chanda and Munda about this beautiful woman, and the way they described, there has been no woman more beautiful than this, immediately they had to have her. But because she's something very rare, they were feeling a little bit generous, and they thought one of them could marry her. So they called their chief minister Sugriva and said, go to that garden where Chanda and Munda found that beautiful lady, and tell her that she can pick one of us. She can marry Shumba or Nishimba, and we will treat her very well, so she can marry one of us. And it's her choice, whomever she wants to marry. So Sugriva went to that garden, spoke to Kaushiki, and told her about the message from Shumba and Nishimba. And he tried to tell her, what a lucky woman you are. Shumba and Nishimba are interested, and they're offering marriage. So you are going to be the queen of all the three worlds, because there's no one more powerful than them. So he described all the prowess of Shumba and Nishimba, what they've conquered, all their possessions and everything. Kaushiki heard all of that, and she said, okay, I'll do as you say, but I have just one condition. When I was young, I took a vow that I will only marry someone who wins me in the battle. So ask Shumba and Nishimba to come and fight with me. If they win me, then I'll marry one of them. And Sugriva was completely shocked. He thought this woman is really crazy, because she's trying to fight with someone who has conquered all three worlds. There is nobody better than them, and they have all these boons. So he tries to explain to her, but Kaushiki stays firm, and she says, no, I took this vow. It might be silly for you, but I have to adhere to it. So he goes back to Shumba and Nishimba, and he tells about what Kaushiki said. And now Shumba and Nishimba are offended. They're thinking, we are people whom even Shiva and Vishnu didn't come and fight with us. We are like that. And the Devas fled from the battlefield. And this woman is challenging us to a battle. What does she think? Who does she think she is? So they get very offended, and they are now mad. And they were feeling generous that they were offering to marry her and not put her in the harem. And so now they are really mad, and they think she thinks too much of herself. So she has to be taught a lesson. So they called Chanda and Munda and said, go find that lady and drag her by the hair and pull her here. So Chanda and Munda are now going there. And initially they want to think that we'll tell her nice words, maybe she'll listen. And they go and tell Kaushiki, but she's like insisting that they have to fight in the battle. So Chanda and Munda decide to drag her by the hair. And so when they started to pull her, go near her to pull her hair, Kaushiki made a huge noise. She made a hum sound. And out of that came something very dark, and that is Kalika. And so she came with so many hands, and she came this terrible figure, and she killed Chanda and Munda immediately. That's why Kali is called as Chamundi, because she killed Chanda and Munda. So once the news of Chanda and Munda's death reached Shumba and Nishimba, they both were really mad, thinking, how dare this woman kill Chanda and Munda? So he now called all the Asura clans. He said, get all the army. Now we are going to show her who we are. We're going to go fight with her. At that time, Kaushiki called Shiva, and she sent Shiva as the messenger to Shumba and Nishimba with the message, that she told Shumba and Nishumba, you better return the Svargaloka back to Devas. Let the Devas do their job, which is to protect the world, and you both return to the Patala world where you were born. If you do all of this, you will be saved. Otherwise, you will meet me in the battlefield and you will be decimated. So she gave this message to Shiva and sent Shiva himself to Shumba and Nishumba. So this is in shlokas in Devi Mahatmyam. So in Devi Bhagavata Purana, you can see all of that. So because she sent Shiva as the messenger to Shumba and Nishumba, she is called as śivadūtī. So there is a shloka that explains this in Devi Mahatmyam. Of course, from there you know that when Shiva went and gave that message, obviously Shumba and Nishumba were very arrogant. So they did not listen to it, and therefore they went to the battle with a large army. And from Kaushiki, the Ashtamatas, Matrikas came about. So from each one there were another 8 that came about, and each one created 1 crore yoginis, and all the 64 crore yoginis fought with the army of Shumba and Nishumba. And then Raktabija was one of the generals. He went and fought. And every time Kaushiki tried to fight with him and kill him, a drop of blood, even if a drop of blood fell, there were additional Raktabijas coming out of it. Then Kaushiki called Kali to drink all the blood of Raktabija, which then allowed for Raktabija to be killed. And then Kaushiki killed Nishumba, because Nishumba was able to attack her lion. And so Kaushiki killed Nishumba. And finally, Shumba had told him that, had told Kaushiki, you're having all these big army, and that's why you're creating all these additional people. Why don't you come one-on-one and fight with me? So then Kaushiki pulled all the energies back into her, and she became a single person, and she and Shumba fought one-on-one, and then she was able to kill Shumba, and all the devas were released. So this is the story of śivadūtī. śivārādhyā. śivārādhyā means one who is worshipped by Shiva. So, when originally the universe was a void, there was just light. And this light illumined the universe. And then from there, Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva were created. After the Madhu Kaitaba Vada, Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva got together, but they were not sure about what their roles were and what they were supposed to do in this universe. At that time, they heard a voice from the sky, and it said, get onto that chariot that I'm sending you, and I will explain more. And so they, all 3 of them got into the chariot, and they went to an island called Manidvipa. And in there, in a throne, there was this most beautiful woman who was clad in a red sari, and she looked all red. She was sitting in a throne, and she is Bhuvaneshwari. So then once Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva saw her, they asked her who they were and what the purpose was and who she was. She explained their roles. She told about how Brahma is responsible for creation, Vishnu is responsible for protection and sustenance, and Shiva is responsible for destruction of evil. At that time, Shiva prayed to her, and he immediately recognized. So then Shiva asked her, please help me overcome the impact of this world, the samsara. Let me be someone who can cross that ocean. So immediately Bhuvaneshwari gave him the mantra, Om Hreem Kleem Chandikāyai Namaha. So she gave that mantra to him, and Shiva kept chanting, and with that he got all this 18 siddhis. So there are 8 siddhis, Ashtasiddhi, which is Anima, Mahima, Garima, Lagima, Prakamya Siddhi, Prapti Siddhi, Ishitva Siddhi, Vashitva Siddhi. So this is like the ability to grow big, ability to grow small, ability to grow light, ability to grow heavy, ability to be anywhere and everywhere, ability to read other people's mind, ability to influence other people. So all of these siddhis came about, and then there are also additional 10 siddhis that he was able to get. So all those siddhis together made Shiva win over all the desires and be able to do anything and everything. So she is called as Siddhidatri. So she is the Durga who is worshipped on the 9th day, and she is wearing a red color sari, and she has all this gada and lotus flower and everything in her hands. She has 4 hands and she has all these things. So she is called as Siddhidatri. And Siddhidatri is one who is capable of giving us perfection. And she is one who removes the ignorance from our minds and creates this enlightenment for us. So that's why she's called as Siddhidatri and worshipped on the 9th day. And Shiva worshipped her and got the 18 Siddhis. Of course, along with that, Vishnu had asked for all the jnana, and Bhuvaneshwari granted that. And she also gave him Lakshmi and said, you be with her and do your job. And then Brahma was a little bit confused. He kept hearing create, 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 but he didn't know what to do. He had created Sanat Kumaras, but they were so focused and they had such sattvika gunam, they were not interested in continuing that creation process. So he didn't know what to do. So he asked for help both from Shiva and Bhuvaneshwari. And immediately she created a half male and half female form of Shiva, and that's called as Ardhanarishwara. So looking at that, Brahma got the idea, then if I have a male and a female, then creation can continue. And so Brahma prayed to her, and he said, let that female energy become separate. If you're joined together, I can't use, let that become separate. So then the female energy separated, and that's why we have male and female. That became the essence of creation. So that half male, half female form, as we all know, is called as Ardhanarishwara. So there is also Ardhanari Stotram. It's composed by Adi Shankaracharya. It says, Champeya Gaurardha Sharirakaya, Karpura Gaurardha Sharirakaya, Dhammillakaya cha Jatadaraya, Namashivaya, Namashivaya. So that's a Ardhanarishwara Stotram. So she's someone who is worshipped by Shiva, and that's why she is śivārādhyā. śivamūrti, she is the form of Shiva. And so Shiva and Shakti are not different. We already saw in the Ardhanarishwara principle, it is the male and female, one being together. śivaṅkarī. śivaṅkarī is one who can create happiness. And or you can also, Shiva is also auspicious, everything auspicious. So she is also one who creates all the auspiciousness. Again in Devi Mahatmyam, we say, Sarva Mangala Mangalye, everything that is good, she is capable of creating it. So Shive Sarvartha Sadike, so she is capable of creating all of that. Śivapriyā. Śivapriyā is one who is adored by Shiva, and it can also be one who adores Shiva, and they are one and the same. Śivaparā. Śivaparā means one who is beyond Shiva. And we can see here that all the attributes, Shiva is everything that is contained. All the attributes of Shiva is contained by Shakti. Shakti is the source of Shiva's energy. So this is why in Saundarya Lahari, Adi Shankaracharya says, right, Shiva Shaktya Yukto Yadi Bhavati Shakta Prabhavitam. So if you think of Shiva as the screen in a movie theater, Shakti is the movie that's getting played onto that screen. Clearly the movie is within the screen, but also the screen comes to life only when the movie is played. So in that, they are very intertwined, but all the attributes, the full enlivenment happens with Shakti, and that's why she is also beyond Shiva. śshiśhṭeśhṭā, śshiśhṭapūjitā. Śishtā is those people who are wise, who are disciplined. So you can say they are saints. Eshta means one who, something that is desired, something that we ask for. So the wise always desire her, or the wise always request for her, reach out for her. śshiśhṭapūjitā, so she is worshipped by the wise. Aprameyā svaprakāśā manovāchāma gocharā. So aprameyā means someone who is immeasurable, undescribable, unimaginable. So she is someone who cannot be described. She cannot be compared with anything. So if you think of the time when you held your firstborn in your hand, or when your baby saw you and smiled at you. You recognized that your baby was able to recognize you. All those times, imagine the feeling that you got, right? So many people would have explained that to you, would have told, and you might have even had some idea about it. But at that moment, what you experienced, the feeling of being rewarded for the months of carrying this baby, or feeling both powerful and humble at the same time. What did I do for this baby to hold on to me so much, or for this baby to love me so much? All those. These are things where there are some things that can be put in words, but you couldn't explain everything that you felt at that time. So like that, Lalita is also someone who cannot be imagined or described. She can only be experienced. So that's why she is beyond our fathom. Svaprakāśā, she is self-illuminating. Manovāchāma gocharā. Mano here means mind. Vacha means speech. Gocharā. Gocharā means in the range or scope or in the field. So she is immeasurable, undescribable, unfathomable, self-illuminating intelligence that is beyond the words and mind. It's not even in the range of our words and mind. So the only way we can reach Lalita is by experiencing or sensing Lalita. And how do we sense Lalita? Through bhakti. So today, if you see, we are learning the meanings of Lalita Sahasranamam, all these different namas. Is this bhakti? It can lead to bhakti, but this is not bhakti. Because trying to understand these namas and the meanings, or trying to understand Lalita, is still cognitive understanding. So it's almost like if you want to lose weight, if you go and look at all the different exercises, swimming burns 300 calories, cardio can get to 250 calories. You can know all of this, or you can know all this diet and this is how many calories each food has, right? Or you can go listen to any number of talks. You can talk to many people about what you know. Will any of this help you lose even a pound of weight? No, unless and until we get onto that treadmill or go do the walking or exactly follow the diet, that's when the weight will be lost. Similarly, with bhakti, it's not just learning about Lalita, it's about processing and having complete faith. Nirbhara bhakti is what will get us to experiencing Lalita. So she's someone who's beyond words and mind. Therefore, instead of cognitively thinking about her, we should follow the path of bhakti and try to experience her. Only then we can see her in our heart. That's all for today. Thank you.